Yesterday, I did a couple of segments about the targeting of trans people and drag shows and the LGBT community in the wake of the horrible shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. One of the things I mentioned but didn't end up having time for, and I want to talk about it now, is the claim that trans people are targeting Christians. Now, before we move on to the generality of Tucker Carlson making this claim, I do want to remind folks that the shooter in Nashville, who was trans, had a history with that school. And so it's very hard in that particular case to make the argument that trans people and the movement is targeting Christians. But even more generally, I'm going to argue with you, argue to you. I'll argue with you if you want to argue with me, but I will argue to you that the claim that the trans movement is targeting Christians is absurd. And in fact, LGBTQ people are way more likely to be the victims of violence, including from those who say, I don't like you because of my Christian worldview, than they are to be the perpetrators of violence at all, never mind against Christian individuals. Rolling Stone article says Tucker Carlson claims trans movement is targeting Christians amid calls for gun control. The article says LGBTQ people are much more often likely to be the victims of targeted mass violence than perpetrators. Tucker Carlson did this nonsense on his opening monologue. I'm going to play it for you, and then we will discuss.
The trans movement is targeting Christians, including with violence.
That is wrong.
Most Christian leaders in this country don't want to admit that. Admitting it might force them to take deeply unfashionable positions. But it is true, and anyone who's paying attention knows that it's true. And so, like most true things at this point, it is officially suppressed.
Now, that is also part of the story. Part of getting your audience to believe insane, untrue things is priming them that the reason they might not hear this insane, untrue thing elsewhere isn't because it's untrue. It's because it's being suppressed elsewhere, which, of course, it's not that the trans movement's vendetta against Christianity is being suppressed. It's that it doesn't exist anywhere beyond resentment over those who weaponize their Christian faith against trans people.
Here, for example, is Joe Biden yelping again about how it's all your fault when these tragedies happen because you've got guns at home. This is from yesterday.
We have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of the nation. And we have to do more to protect our schools so they aren't turned into prisons. You know, the shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban.
So we're going to prevent you from learning why the shooter did it, and we don't have to guess because she wrote a whole manifesto about why she did it. And we know that she did that because she told a friend of hers on Instagram that she did it. But we can't see it. We can only talk about the guns. We can't know what kind of drugs she was taking, what kind of hormones or SSRIs or benzodiazepines. We can only guess.
I hate to tell you, folks, benzos causing a mass shooting does not sound like the most informed take I've ever heard. And of course, it's coming from Tucker Carlson, not from a medical professional.
We can only talk about the guns. Pass my assault weapons ban. That'll fix the problem.
Now, of course, we can talk about much more than the guns. If they want to talk about mental illness, we should talk about mental illness, and I do. But they don't want to actually fund access to mental health treatment. If they want to talk about the toxic gun culture of the United States, I would gladly talk about that. They will never even bring that up. They don't want to acknowledge that. And yes, we should also talk about the guns. Now, there's one other aspect to this. Not only is this brazenly untrue, that the trans movement is targeting Christians, the trans movement doesn't want violent rhetoric or discrimination from anybody, no matter the origins of that. In some cases, it is Christianity that is being, I would argue, being misused. They would say we're just looking at scripture. I would say it is being misused to target the trans community. But there's another aspect to this. To some extent, many of these folks see not being Christian as hostile to Christianity. You can be non-religious, that doesn't mean you're targeting Christianity. You could be Muslim or Jewish or Buddhist or whatever and not be targeting Christianity. But a lot of these folks, the mere absence of Christianity is targeting Christianity. And this is part of the problem for a wing of the American evangelical community. Simply not being an evangelical Christian, they claim is an attack on their faith. And last thing, there are also trans people who are Christian. I think it's important to say.